bring in Dee. Dee, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to dive in with a bunch of questions for you. But before we do, would you introduce yourself?
Well, hello, everyone. I am Dee Smith, and I historically help companies create quality assurance programs from the ground up using lean technologies. And so I'm a Job Joy graduate, and I have experienced so much joy in the program. So that's who I am. I'm Dee. Thank you for having me, Kristen.
Thank you for being here. You are such a rock star. And we worked together last year, right? That was when the pandemic hit, right? We were all freaking out. What's happening with the job market, right? And if you can remember back to before we started working together, where were you at? How were you feeling? What was going on career-wise?
Well, I was kind of stuck in, wanting to move ahead and move to the next level, and just stuck in frustration, really, and just not being able to find my way out, or, dreading going to work every day and that kind of thing like that. So I was not getting the most out of the position that I was in. I was doing a whole lot of work and working a whole lot of overtime, really stressed, not even taking my PTO and that kind of stuff like that. Just staying at work until 8, 9 o'clock at night, going in at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I was just really stretching.
Rewind, say that again. What time were you going into the office?
5 a.m.
Yeah. What? That is crazy, right? And then leaving 8, 9 o'clock, that is insane. So of course you were burned out.
Yeah, I was definitely burned out. Yeah, so that's where I was.
Yeah. And maybe you weren't getting a lot out of the job, but they were getting a maximum out of you.
I felt like I had I had a really big load, and I was begging for help. I mean, and although I'm an overachiever, there's a limit, and health wise, I don't think that I was getting the sleep that I needed. And I was going home after leaving the office and logging back on, cook quick dinner real fast and log back on and work over into the night. So I was just not living my best life and finding joy in the things that I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, the train to burnout, it leads to a lot of bad things.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm
Sure.
glad we connected. I'm glad we found each other. And, investing in ourselves, especially when we are used to giving to everybody, right? You gave to your job, thinking about giving to your family, your kids, they always came first, right?
Yep.
You were a young mother, right? Your whole life has been giving to others. And so I imagine that investing in career coaching must have been strange and scary. How did it feel for you, and what helped you get over to make the decision to join us in Job Joy?
I mean, although it was strange and scary, I needed it. I was just at that point where, I really, really needed it. And after having the conversation with you for the first time, and just going through the questions that you gave me, what's my atonement like? What am I getting at? And, am I taking care of myself outside of work? What does my health look like? That kind of stuff like that. It really made me think. And I was just really at my breaking point. And so at that point, it's like, I need this. And in order for me to move forward, I have to invest in myself. So,
yeah. Fantastic. I remember actually, we had done a testimonial video a while ago last year, and I remember you saying that you loved fancy purses. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And you're like, I love fancy purses.
Yeah.
And yes, this is the price of some of those fancy purses, and it allows me to get more of those.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, if I can invest in a Louis Vuitton, I'll go ahead and say it's my thing. So if I can invest in Louis Vuitton and it costs more than the program cost me, I could definitely invest in my career and in my future. And I really can say it's the best decision that I made, because otherwise I would have just been turning my wheels, and the job search that I was doing was an off and on kind of thing, because I was just afraid to take that leap and say, I'm just going to either leave this company or try something different. I was afraid to take the leap. So that was the encouragement that I needed in order to take the leap on to the next level.
So good. So let's talk results. Now, I sort of teased it out at the beginning. I kind of gave it
Right.
away, but
Yeah.
through working the process, staying consistent, you were really good at that. You didn't give up. You stayed
Right.
consistent. You
Yeah.
stuck with, right, the program. What was the result? And of course, the tangible results of the offers, but also how you were feeling, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. And one of the things, and it may not be for everybody, but when I took the leap without a job. So it was a really scary time because, but with the support of my husband, I was able to, do the things that I needed to do. Number one, I needed rest. And number two, I had been putting off a health procedure for a long time because I felt like, if I was out of work, the work wouldn't get done and, how would things get done. So I put that on the back burner. So when I left, I was able to actually take care of myself and, dive into the things that I needed to do for me. So I took a minute before I even started the job search. I want to say about maybe 5 to 6 months before I even started my job search so that I could just take care of me. And so once I got everything done and I was ready to move on to the next level, I just listened to Kristen. I mean, I know that, it's really cliche, but, if you are hiring somebody to do a professional job, then you just let them do it, right? So I just
Yes.
listened to Kristen because she's professional and, not only was she professional in doing the coaching, but she had been through it herself. So that was another factor that made me say, okay, I can follow these instructions because she's been there and she's followed the same road and she's practicing what she preaches, basically.
Yeah. And I still do. You'd be surprised. Job search is not unlike having a business. But
Right.
that's a conversation for another day.
Right.
So you work the process, and then last December, I forget if it was the week before Christmas or after Christmas. Tell us what happened. Remember that big Facebook post?
It was actually October. So
Yeah.
in October, I was like, just putting my offers out there, or rather just doing my job search, the regular stuff, hopping on every day, doing my LinkedIn and making my posts and reaching out to people and getting my contacts and that kind of thing and making those connections. And I talked to a whole lot of people. And I know that part, if you haven't done it yet, was scary, but it became the norm. So I reached out to a lot of people, and in October I actually got 4 job offers, and in the middle of the pandemic, and I was like, whoa, I didn't think that I would even get an offer before the end of the year at least. But I got 4 job offers, and it was a thing, negotiating salaries and navigating through, the things that I wanted. So I had the criteria set, and that was the deciding factor is this what I want? So I listed out my wants, and of the 4 jobs, and that's what I went with.
Yeah. So tell us, what were some of those benefits that you were looking for and that you got in that dream job?
Okay, so it was really specific. I wanted to make sure that I had a company credit card for travel because in the past I'd had to kind of do the reimbursement thing. So I wanted the company credit card. Yep. I wanted access to healthy food in or at least 5 minutes from my office. I wanted a 15-minute drive to the office. I wanted access to a healthcare facility, not healthcare, but health club facility, yeah. Fitness rather. It's open enrollment, so that's where my mind is. And I also wanted a certain amount of pay, so I went out, and those were my specifications that were the deciding factors.
Yeah. And we were talking about this before we went live, right? And something that stops a lot of people, and I'm hearing it even now, while we're enrolling, is, hey, Kristen, I love the challenge. I love your work. Oh my God, I would really love to join the program, but I can't swing it financially, right? And sometimes it's people newer in their search. Sometimes it's people who have been searching for a long time. And it's like, I want to put my hands on their shoulders and say, listen, if you get the job a month faster it pays for itself. If
Yeah.
you go, this next year and it's another year, you've burned through so much more money. I want to tell them you're going to get it back when you negotiate. You're going to get it back with your health, right? You're going to get
Yeah.
it back
Yeah,
with
for
your
sure.
emotional well-being.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, I'm not one of those, slimy people who's going to guarantee anything.
Right.
But what I found out, this morning, is that you made your investment, the investment in Find Your Job Joy, back 19 times. Tell us
Yeah.
how much more money you're making in your new job where you're not burnt out, where you're leaving at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. What is that number?
It's 30,000, about 30K a year more than what I was making. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How amazing
And
is
that's
that?
base. Yeah, that's base. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's base. That doesn't include all the benefits, right? That you
Right.
were just talking about.
Right.
And you are not like it's not like you're the one in a million, right? This is what is possible when you set the intention, when you follow a roadmap, when you have the support and the accountability, when you go for it.
Right.
Right? When
Yeah,
you
for sure.
do negotiate, when you stand up for yourself, when you see your value, it's not just about showing value to the employer, it's about showing it to yourself and knowing yourself. I am worth it and I'm going to go for it. And so I'm so proud of you. I'm so thrilled. I'm excited. I'm not surprised, but I am, excited and surprised because it's so amazing. And so can you tell us, because I want to make this even, more tangible for anyone listening, whether or not they join us in the program, although I would love you to if you are listening and resonating with this. But what do you think were the 1, 2, or 3 like biggest drivers that helped you get to this position with 4 offers, $30,000 increase, all the benefits you were looking for?
I'm going to say, again, just putting in the work, number one. And if you're investing in yourself, you have to do the work. So definitely just doing the work and, not, I don't want to say I was your pupil child. I didn't give you pushback. So if you said, go talk to 5 people a day, I went out and I talked to 5 people a day or whatever the case may be. So just investing in.
Full out.
Yeah, for sure. And, I would also say the investing in myself and making sure that I was in a good place, because if I wasn't in a good place, I wouldn't be good for anyone, or, that burnout would just carry over to the next place. So I took the time to focus on me. And so I had so much energy. I was just at a really high level of confidence. And I just walked into it with a high level of confidence. And then, with the responses that I got back from others, I'm like, man, this really works. So as I saw it working, it made me want to do it more. It drove me a lot more. So again, just having those conversations, working on myself and putting in the work.
So good. So in summary, you got to stay consistent, right?
Yeah.
You got to network, right? We talk about, right, getting
sure.
clear, which you did, building your campaign. But if you can have the best campaign ever, right? You can have the best profile, the best resume, but if no one sees it, right? So you followed the process in that way. And then I love that you mentioned, taking care of yourself, because I think something that, we do differently in Job Joys, it's not just resume and interview prep and negotiation. We do all that, and all of that is important, but it's very holistic, right? Because 2 job seekers can take the same actions, they could say the same words, but if their mind isn't right, if they're burnt out, if their energy isn't right, if they're in a mode of desperation, they're going to have completely different results, even with the same tactics.
Yeah, for sure. And I think back to one thing that happened. I had an interview with a company, and I remembered I went on the VP's website, and I not website, but her LinkedIn, and I looked her criteria up, not criteria, but her qualifications up. And I really put myself in a frenzy because I interviewed and it took them a day or 2 to call me back, and then imposter syndrome set in, and it was like, I didn't want the job anyway. And in my mind, it was just this whole thing. But the reality is I'd hype myself up and let imposter syndrome set in. And one thing that you told me is, don't create a story in your mind that doesn't exist. And that stuck with me. So all of the other interviews I went in, and if I did reach back out, I don't know if you remember or not, I was like, I killed that interview.
Yeah.
Even if I thought I did bad, it was like, I killed it. So, I mean, that was another thing. And that was something great that I learned from the program as well.
That is so good. We create, and this is all of us, whether you're looking for a job, whatever you are doing, we create so much pain for ourselves with the stories we make up in our heads, right? Oh, they told me they were gonna, call me back today and I didn't hear back. They must hate me. I must have made a mistake. There must be someone better. I'm never gonna find a job, right? That's the way our brain is, right? Yeah. And I think we can all relate to that. And that is normal, right? Imposter syndrome. By the way, we have a training for that. Yeah, they say there's an app for that. I'm like, there's a training for that. Exactly. But the smartest and the most driven of us actually have the most imposter syndrome, right? Which is crazy. Yeah. It doesn't make sense, but it's totally overcomeable, especially when you just start to watch. Hey, is this a story? Is this based in fact? Am I causing myself more pain and drama than is necessary? Right? I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah. And then last question is, if someone is considering joining us in Find Your Job Joy, maybe they're on the fence, right? What advice would you give someone as someone who's been through the program?
I would say do it. I mean, your career depends on it, really. If you are at this place and you've joined Job Joy or Finding Your Job Joy, you're already here. So just make the next move. I mean, it's not, again, that return on investment that you're going to get, not just monetary, but the happiness that you're going to find. It's like, you're going to be like, why didn't I do this a long time ago? I mean, so why keep putting it off? Go ahead and make the investment. And I remember just having that conversation with my husband, like, I know that, I'm not working right now, but I really want to do this. And so we talked about it and I kind of told him about our call and he's like, just do it. It sounds like it's going to be good for you. And, as I started to do the work and he started to see changes in me, just, in my personal everyday life, like no decision Saturday where, no one can call me. And that's still going on to this day, Kristen. I have no decision Saturdays. Where I, don't make decisions for anyone. Should I get Chipotle or, Pita Pit for my daughters, whatever. And it's like, they know
everyone comes to Dee for everything at work, in her family, with her friends. And so what are the boundaries? I'm going to tell everybody since they don't know what no decision Saturday means.
Okay.
But Dee was like, whether it was a small decision, what am I having for lunch? Or what am I doing with my life? Or, help me with this thing right here, right? She was always in this mode of giving, right? And responding and never having time for herself. And so I challenged her to have one day a week where she does not answer all these questions, where people have to learn to make their own decisions, right? And I'm so glad you're continuing that. Of course, I didn't know, but that is a fantastic boundary. And it's also great for everyone else, right? You get to take care of yourself, you feel better, but they also learn to be on their own, right? When we do things for other people, whether it's making decisions or physically doing the thing for them, it's actually not serving them, even though it makes us feel good, right? It makes them feel good. But in the long run, and you've got two daughters who, are badass, independent. They're going to be just like their mama, right? And you want to keep it that way.
For sure. So, and just going back to your question, it's totally worth it. The return on investment, like I said, is totally worth it. And for your life, it's worth it. I mean, and we make time and we spend money on the things that we think are important for us. This is important. Your career, your life, your happiness is important. So I would say this is something that you should make time for. And this is something that you should definitely invest in, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be able to do all of the things that I'm doing now, or, help with the things that I need to help with, and just be able to just wake up every morning in the setting that I want to, with the windows halfway open where the sun is shining on my face, without knowing that those are the things that make me happy. So it's worth it to invest in it.
Thank you so much, Dee. And I have to say, I mean, there's just a lightness about you. your essence, your energy. It's like I don't want to say a new woman is here, but it's like the real D is here that was covered up with all that burnout and stress and just being in a job that just wasn't a fit. So
True.
thank you so much for sharing your story. I have
no problem.
no doubt you are inspiring many and showing people what is possible. And again, it was a joy working with you. I'm so excited for you, and I know we will be in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Kristen.
See you later, Dee. Bye, everybody.
Bye.